Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Ballabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Janna Ballabha Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Jashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Giri Varadhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Premananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We're continuing our reading of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita here at Govardhan Hill. If you came to the wrong ashram, please stay. It'll be worth your while. We're going to take up where we left off yesterday at chapter 13, the Lord's dancing at Rath Yatra. And I think that we can start on text number 137. Do you concur?
Yes.
Thank you. Speaking in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "For most people the mind and heart are one. But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one. My mind is already Vrindavan. And since you like Vrindavan, will you please place your lotus feet there? I would deem that your full mercy." The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing, by which the mind accepts materially favorable things and rejects the unfavorable. This is the consciousness of people in general. But when the mind does not accept and reject, but simply becomes fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, then one's mind becomes as good as Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna is, there also are Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the cowherd boys, and all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus, as soon as one fixes Krishna in his mind becomes identical with Vrindavan. In other words, when one's mind is completely free from all material desires and is engaged only in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one always lives in Vrindavan and nowhere else. My dear Lord, kindly hear my true submission. My home is Vrindavan, and I wish your association there. But if I do not get it, then it will be very difficult for me to keep my life. Again, for context, this is at Kurukshetra, the conversation after over 100 years of separation, when everybody came for the eclipse, and now Srimati Radharani's speaking to Krishna about the impossibility of the same relationship in Dwarka, or amidst all the opulence there at Kurukshetra. Only when the mind is free from designations can one desire the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind must have some occupation. If a person is to be free of material things, his mind cannot be vacant. There must be subject matters for thinking, feeling, and willing. Unless one's mind is filled with thoughts of Krishna, feelings for Krishna, and a desire to serve Krishna, the mind will be filled with material activities. Those who have given up all material activities and have ceased thinking of them should always retain the ambition to think of Krishna. Without Krishna, one cannot live, just as a person cannot live without some enjoyment for his mind. Text 139. My dear Krishna, formerly, when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now you yourself are speaking the same thing, but my mind doesn't accept it. There is no place in my mind for jnana yoga or dhyan yoga. Although you know me very well, you are still instructing me in jnana yoga and dhyan yoga. It is not right for you to do so. The process of mystic yoga, the speculative method for searching out the Supreme Absolute Truth, does not appeal to one who is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. A devotee is not at all interested in speculative activities. Instead of cultivating speculative knowledge or practicing mystic yoga, a devotee should worship the Lord, let's worship the deity in the temple, and continuously engage in the Lord's service. I'll read that again. Instead of cultivating speculative knowledge or practicing mystic yoga, a devotee should worship the deity in the temple and continuously engage in the Lord's service. Temple deity worship is realized by the devotees to be the same as direct service to the Lord. The deity is known as the Archa Vigraha or Archa Avatara, an incarnation of the Supreme Lord in the form of a material manifestation, brass, stone, or wood. Ultimately, there is no difference between Krishna manifest in matter or Krishna manifest in spirit, because both are his energies. For Krishna, there is no distinction between matter and spirit. His manifestation in material form, therefore, is as good as his original form, Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. A devotee constantly engaged in deity worship according to the rules and regulations laid down in the Shastras and given by the spiritual master realizes gradually that he is in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he loses all interest in so-called meditation, yoga practice, and mental speculation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I would like to withdraw my consciousness from you and engage it in material activities. But even though I try, I cannot do so. I am naturally inclined to you only. Your instructions for me to meditate on you are therefore simply ludicrous. In this way, you are killing me. It is not very good for you to think of me as a candidate for your instruction. Amrita, you got to move this. Otherwise, I got no object in life. You know where to put it?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Yikes. He's marking how many pages we have to do. I have to have something to shoot for. That's not a good metaphor to use these days. Okay. Where was I? 140?
Yeah.
Did I read the verse yet?
Yeah.
I did?
Yeah.
Did I read the purport?
Yeah.
Sri Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmanyanavritam anakulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttamam. For a pure devotee, there is no scope for indulgence in mystic yoga practice or the cultivation of speculative philosophy. It is indeed impossible for a pure devotee to engage his mind in such unwanted activities. Even if a pure devotee wanted to, his mind would not allow him to do so. That is a characteristic of a pure devotee. He is transcendental to all fruitive activity, speculative philosophy, and mystic yoga meditation. The gopis therefore express themselves as follows. The gopis are not like the mystic yogis. They will never be satisfied simply by meditating on your lotus feet and imitating the so-called yogis. Teaching the gopis about meditation is another kind of duplicity. When they are instructed to undergo mystic yoga practice, they are not at all satisfied. On the contrary, they become more and more angry with you. Purport: Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has stated, Kaivalyam narakayate tridasapur akasha pushpayate durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkata damstrayate Vishvam purnam sukayate virimahen dradischakitayate Yat karunyakataksha vaivavavatam tam gorameva stuma Yat karunyakataksha vaivavavatam tam gaurameva stuma. For a pure devotee who has realized Krishna consciousness through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the monistic philosophy by which one becomes one with the Supreme appears hellish. The mystic yoga practice by which the mind is controlled and the senses are subjugated also appears ludicrous to a pure devotee. The devotee's mind and senses are already engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. In this way, the poisonous effects of sensory activities are removed. If one's mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, there's no possibility that one will think, feel, or act materially. Similarly, the fruitive worker's attempt to attain to the heavenly planets is nothing more than a phantasmagoria for the devotee. After all, the heavenly planets are material, and in due course of time they will all be dissolved. Devotees do not care for such temporary things. They engage in transcendental devotional activities because they desire elevation to the spiritual world, where they can live eternally and peacefully, and with full knowledge of Krishna. In Vrindavan, the gopis, cowherd boys, and even the calves, cows, trees, and water are fully conscious of Krishna. They are never satisfied with anything but Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what? Oh, I thought I heard somebody talking. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, the gopis have fallen into the great ocean of separation and are being devoured by the Timangila fish of their ambition to serve you. The gopis are to be delivered from the mouths of these Timangila fish, for they are pure devotees. Since they have no material conception of life, why should they aspire for liberation? The gopis do not want that liberation desired by yogis and jnanis, for they are already liberated from the ocean of material existence. Purport: the bodily conception is created by the desire for material enjoyment. That is called viparasmriti, which is the opposite of real life. The living entity is eternally the servant of Krishna, but when he desires to enjoy the material world, he cannot progress in spiritual life. One can never be happy by advancing materially. This is also stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Adanta gopir vishatam tamisram punak punash charvita charvananam. Through the uncontrolled senses, one may advance one's hellish condition. He may continue to chew the chewed, that is, repeatedly accept birth and death. The conditioned souls use the duration of life between birth and death only to engage in the same hackneyed activities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. In the lower animal species, we find the same activities. Since these activities are repeated, engaging in them is like chewing that which has already been chewed. If one can give up his ambition to engage in hackneyed material life and take to Krishna consciousness instead, he will be liberated from the stringent laws of material nature. One does not need to make a separate attempt to become liberated. If one simply engages in the service of the Lord, he will be liberated automatically. As Srila Bilvamangal Thakur therefore says, Mukti Swayamukali Tanjali Sevate Sman. Liberation stands before me with folded hands, begging to serve me. Text 143. It is amazing that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavan. And how is it that you have forgotten your father, mother, and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhan Hill, the bank of the Jamuna, and the forest where you enjoyed the Rasa Leela dance? Krishna, you are certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You are well behaved, soft-hearted, and merciful. I know that there is not even a tinge of fault to be found in you, yet your mind does not even remember the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This is only my misfortune and nothing else. I do not care for my personal unhappiness, but when I see the morose face of Mother Yashoda and the hearts of all the inhabitants of Vrindavan breaking because of you, I wonder whether you want to kill them all, or do you want to enliven them by coming there? Why are you simply keeping them alive in a state of suffering? The inhabitants of Vrindavan do not want you dressed like a prince, nor do they want you to associate with great warriors in a different country. They cannot live in the land, they cannot leave the land of Vrindavan, and without your presence they are all dying. What is their condition to be? My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavan Dham. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavan, and you are very merciful. Please come and let all the residents of Vrindavan live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. Purport. Srimati Radharani did not express her personal unhappiness at being separated from Krishna. She wanted to evoke Krishna's feelings for the condition of all the others in Vrindavan Dham. Mother Yashoda, Maharaj Nanda, the cowherd boys, the gopis, the birds and bees on the banks of the Jamuna, the water of the Jamuna, the trees, the forest, and all the other paraphernalia associated with Krishna before he left Vrindavan for Mathura. These feelings of Srimati Radharani were manifested by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore he invited Lord Jagannath, Krishna, to return to Vrindavan. This is the purport of the Rath Yatra cars going from Jagannath Puri to the Gundicha temple. After hearing Srimati Radharani's statements, Lord Krishna's love for the inhabitants of Vrindavan was evoked, and his body and mind became very much perturbed. After hearing of their love for him, he immediately thought himself to be always indebted to the residents of Vrindavan. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows. My dearest Srimati Radharani, please hear me. I'm speaking the truth. I cry day and night simply upon remembering all you inhabitants of Vrindavan. No one knows how unhappy this makes me. Purport. It is said, Vrindavanam parityaja paramekam nagacchati. In one sense, Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha, does not even take one step away from Vrindavan. However, in order to take care of various duties, Krishna had to leave Vrindavan. He had to go to Mathura to kill Kamsa, and then he was taken by his father to Dwarka, where he was busy with state affairs and disturbances created by demons. Krishna was away from Vrindavan, and he was not at all happy. As he plainly disclosed to Srimati Radharani, I'll read that a sentence again in regular English. Krishna was away from Vrindavan, and he was not at all happy, as he plainly disclosed to Srimati Radharani. She is the dearmost life and soul of Sri Krishna, and he expressed his mind to her as follows. Sri Krishna continued, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham, my mother, father, cowherd boyfriends, and everything else, are like my life and soul. And among all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis are my very life and soul. And among the gopis, you, Srimati Radharani, are the chief, Therefore, you are the very life of my life. Purport: Srimati Radharani is the center of all Vrindavan's activities. In Vrindavan, Krishna is the instrument of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan still chant Jai Radhe. From Krishna's own statement given herein, it appears that Radharani is the queen of Vrindavan, and that Krishna is simply her decoration. Krishna is known as Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid, but Srimati Radharani is the enchanter of Krishna. Consequently, Srimati Radharani is called Madan Mohan Mohini, the enchanter of Cupid. My dear Srimati Radharani, I am always subservient to the loving affairs of all of you. I am under your control only. My separation from you and residence in distant places have occurred due to my strong misfortune. When a woman is separated from the man she loves, or a man is separated from his beloved woman, neither of them can live. It is a fact that they live only for each other, for if one dies and the other hears of it, he or she will die also. Such a loving, chaste wife and loving husband desire all welfare for each other in separation and do not care for personal happiness, desiring only each other's well-being. Such a pair certainly meet again without delay. You are my most dear, and I know that in my absence you cannot live for a moment. Just to keep you living, I worship Lord Narayan. By his merciful potency, I come to Vrindavan every day to enjoy pastimes with you. I then return to Dwarka Dham. Thus, you can always feel my presence there in Vrindavan. Our love affair is more powerful because of my good fortune in receiving Narayan's grace. This allows me to come there unseen by others. I hope that very soon I will be visible to everyone. Purport: Krishna has two kinds of presence, prakat and aprakat, manifest and unmanifest. These are identical for the sincere devotee. Even if Krishna is not physically present, the devotee's constant absorption in the affairs of Krishna makes him always present. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 538. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sindanam achintya gunaswarupam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Due to his intense love, the pure devotee always sees Lord Krishna present within his heart. All glories to Govinda, the primeval personality of Godhead. When Krishna is not manifest before the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are always absorbed in thoughts of him. Therefore, even though at that time Krishna was living in Dwarka, he was simultaneously present before all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This was his aprakat presence. Devotees who are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna will soon see Krishna face to face without a doubt. In other words, devotees who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness and are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna certainly return home, back to Godhead. They then see Krishna directly, face to face, talk with him, and enjoy his company. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjana. Because during his lifetime a pure devotee is always speaking of Krishna and engaging in his service, as soon as he gives up his body, he immediately returns to Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is personally present. He then meets Krishna directly. This is successful human life. This is the meaning of prakateha anibe satvara. The pure devotee will soon see the personal manifestation of Sri Krishna. 156. I have already killed all the mischievous demons who are enemies of the Yadu dynasty, and have also killed Kamsa and his allies. But there are 2 or 4 demons still living. I want to kill them, and after doing so, I shall very soon return to Vrindavan. Please know this for certain. Purport: just as Krishna does not take a step away from Vrindavan, Krishna's devotee also does not like to leave Vrindavan. However, when he has to tend to Krishna's business, he leaves Vrindavan. After finishing his mission, the pure devotee returns home, back to Vrindavan, back to Godhead. Krishna assured Radharani that after killing the demons outside Vrindavan, he would return. I'm coming back very soon, he promised, as soon as I have killed the few remaining demons. I wish to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the attacks of my enemies. That is why I remain in my kingdom. Otherwise I am indifferent to my royal position. Whatever wives, sons, and wealth I maintain in the kingdom are only for the satisfaction of the yadus. Your loving qualities always attract me to Vrindavan. Indeed, they will bring me back within 10 or 20 days. And when I return, I shall enjoy both day and night with you and all the damsels of Rajabhumi. While speaking to Srimati Radharani, Krishna became very anxious to return to Vrindavan. He made her listen to a verse which banished all her difficulties and which assured her that she would again attain Krishna. Mai bhaktir bhutanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yat asin matsneho bhavatina marapanaha. Lord Sri Krishna said, devotional service unto me is the only way to attain me. My dear gopis, whatever love and affection you have attained for me by good fortune is the only reason for my returning to you. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.82-44. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sit in his room with Swarup Damodar and taste the topics of these verses day and night. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced completely absorbed in ecstatic emotion. While looking at the face of Lord Jagannath, he danced and recited these verses. No one can describe the good fortune of Swarup Damodar Goswami, for he is always absorbed in the service of the Lord with his body, mind, and words. The senses of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were identical with the senses of Swarup. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to become fully absorbed in tasting the singing of Swarup Damodar. In emotional ecstasy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes sit on the ground and looking down would write on the ground with his finger. Fearing that the Lord would injure his finger by writing in this way, Swarup Damodar checked him with his own hand. Swarup Damodar used to sing exactly according to the ecstatic emotion of the Lord. Whenever a particular mellow was being tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar would personify it by singing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked upon the beautiful lotus-like face and eyes of Jagannath. Lord Jagannath was garlanded, dressed with nice garments, and adorned with beautiful ornaments. His face was glittering from the rays of sunshine, and the entire atmosphere was fragrant. An ocean of transcendental bliss expanded in the heart of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and symptoms of madness immediately intensified like a hurricane. The madness of transcendental bliss created waves of various emotions. The emotions appeared like opposing soldiers staging a fight. There was an increase in all the natural emotional symptoms. Thus, there were awakening emotions. Peacefulness, joined, mixed, transcendental, and prevalent emotions, and impetuses for emotion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body appeared like a transcendental Himalayan mountain bearing ecstatic emotional flower trees, all of them blooming. The sight of all these symptoms attracted everyone's mind and consciousness. Indeed, the Lord sprinkled everyone's mind with the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. I'll read it again. The sight of all these symptoms attracted everyone's mind and consciousness. Indeed, the Lord sprinkled everyone's mind with the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. He sprinkled the minds of the servants of Lord Jagannath, the government officers, the pilgrim visitors, the general populace, and all the residents of Jagannath Puri. Upon seeing the dancing and ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone became astonished. In their hearts they became infatuated with love of Krishna. Everyone danced and chanted in ecstatic love, and a great noise resounded. Everyone was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss just to see the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Apart from the others, even Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram, with great happiness, began to move very slowly upon seeing the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram sometimes stopped the car and happily observed Lord Chaitanya's dancing. Anyone who was able to see them stop and watch the dancing bore witness to their pastimes. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and wandering in this way, he fell down in front of Maharaj Prataparudra. Maharaj Prataparudra picked the Lord up with great respect, but upon seeing the king, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to his external senses. After seeing the king, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condemned himself, saying, "Oh, how pitiful it is that I have touched a person who is interested in mundane affairs." Not even Lord Nityananda, Kashishwar, or Govinda took care of Lord Chaitanya when he fell down. Nityananda was in great ecstasy, and Kashishwar and Govinda were elsewhere. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already been satisfied by the king's behavior, for the king had accepted the service of a sweeper for Lord Jagannath. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually desired to see the king. However, just to warn his personal associates, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, externally expressed feelings of anger. When Maharaj Prataparudra asked to see the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately refused, saying, "Niskinchanasya bhagavad bhajano mukasya param param jagamashur babasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinam atayoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu." The word Nishkinchanasya refers to a person who has finished his material activities. Such a person can begin to execute his activities in Krishna consciousness, to cross over the ocean of nescience. It is very dangerous for such a person to have intimate relationships with mundane people, or to become intimately related with women. This formality is to be observed by anyone who is serious about going back home, back to Godhead. To teach his personal associates these principles, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed external anger when touched by the king. Since the Lord was very much satisfied with the humble behavior of the king, he intentionally allowed the king to touch him, but externally he expressed anger just to warn his personal associates. King Prataparudra became frightened when Lord Chaitanya showed external anger, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told the king, "Don't worry. Na kara samshaya." Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya informed the king, "The Lord is very satisfied with you." By pointing you out, he was teaching his personal associates how to behave with mundane people. Purport. Although outwardly the king was a mundane man interested in money and women, internally he was purified by devotional activities. He showed this by engaging as a street sweeper to please Lord Jagannath. A person may appear to be a pounds and shillings man interested in money and women, but if he is actually very meek and humble and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not mundane. Such a judgment can be made only by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his very confidential devotees. As a general principle, however, no devotee should intimately mix with mundane people interested in money and women. Text 188. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, "I shall submit your petition when there is an opportune moment. It will then be easy for you to come and meet the Lord." After circumambulating Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went behind the car and began pushing it with his head. As soon as he pushed, the car immediately started to move, making a rattling noise. The people all around began to chant the holy name of the Lord.
Hari Hari!
As the car began to move, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates in front of the cars occupied by Lord Balaram and Subhadra, the goddess of fortune. Greatly inspired, he then began to dance in front of them. After finishing the dance before Lord Baladev and Subhadra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came before Lord Jagannath's car. Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, he began to dance again. When they reached the place called Balagandi, Lord Jagannath stopped his car and began to look left and right. On the left side, Lord Jagannath saw a neighborhood of brahmanas and a coconut tree grove. On the right side, he saw nice flower gardens resembling those in the holy place, Vrindavan. Purport: Vipra Shashana is a word generally used in the Orissa province to indicate the quarters where brahmanas live. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees were dancing in front of the car, and Lord Jagannath, having stopped the car, watched the dancing. It was customary that food be offered to the Lord at Vipra Shashana. Indeed, innumerable dishes of food were offered, and Lord Jagannath tasted each one of them. All kinds of devotees of Lord Jagannath, from neophytes to the most advanced, offered their best cooked food to the Lord. These devotees included the king, his queens, his ministers and friends, and all other big and small residents of Jagannath Puri. All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. The devotees offered their food everywhere, in front of the car and behind it, on the two sides and within the flower garden. Wherever possible, they made their offering to the Lord, for there were no hard and fast rules. While the Lord was being offered, while the food was being offered, a large crowd of people gathered. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped his dancing and went to a nearby garden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the garden and, immersed in great ecstatic emotion, fell flat on a raised platform there. The Lord was very much fatigued from the hard labor of dancing, and there was perspiration all over his body. He therefore enjoyed the fragrant, cool breeze of the garden. All the devotees who had been performing Sankirtan came there and took rest under each and every tree. Thus I have described the great performance of congregational chanting by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he danced in front of Lord Jagannath. In his prayer, known as the Chaitanyashtaka, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a vivid description of the Lord's dancing before the car of Jagannath. Srila Rupa Goswami composed 3 prayers entitled Chaitanyashtaka. The verse next quoted in text 7 is the first of the Chaitanyashtaka prayers, which are included in the book Stava Mala. Amrita, what's the... Rata Rudha Rad Adi Padavi Nichalapate Adabra Premor Mispurita Natano Lasavibasha Saharsham Gayadbi Parivrita Tanur Vaishnavajan Shichait Punarapi Itrish. What happened? Shri Chaitanya Kimme Punarapi Drishor. Sing it. But it has to be the last line thing. Sa Chaitanya Kimme Punarapi Drishur Yes Yati Padam. Yeah?
I think one tune that works is Chaitanya Kimme Punarapi.
That's another way to do the the Jagannath Ashtakam too.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There's two ways to do it.
That must be the same meter then.
It's the same meter. We can do that. Rata. Say it again. No, it's a different. It's the same as we do Nishananda. Charapater adabra premurmi spurita natano lasa vibhasha saharsham gayadbi parivrita tanur vaishnava janai Sachetanya keme punadapi drishor yasyathi padam. Either way. Get the Chaitanya Ashtakam. We need it. Who has it? Sudhira, you got it? Please make it available to everybody. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachala, who is sitting on his car. We'll chant it next time in Rath Yatra. Add it to the list. Over Hari Hari.
Hari Hari.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachala, who is sitting on his car, overwhelmed by the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy name. He manifested ways of ecstatic love of Godhead. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? Come on, we got to chant that one for Rath Yatra. Anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in the devotional service and love of Godhead. I'm going to read it again. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm not convinced that you're ready for it. This is heavy. Get ready. Anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Hari Hari! Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus then the Bhaktivedanta purports of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhya Lila, 13th chapter, describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing at Lord Jagannath's car festival. Bravo! Bravissimo! Balo, balo! Jai, jai! Sadhu, sadhu! What did I win?
This is the Mukut which Lord Jagannath wears in the Rath Yatra.
Already the benediction is manifesting. I just got some mukut from Lord Jagannath, from the Rath Yatra festival. Hare Krishna. Wow, it's beautiful. Jai Jagannath. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is precious. Thank you. Chapter 14, performance of the Vrindavan pastimes. Dressing himself as a Vaishnav, Maharaj Prataparuja. Are we observing a moratorium on fans? Is that the program here? It's part of our Kartik Vrat. No more fans. No more fans. Dressing himself as a Vaishnav, Maharaj Prataparuja entered the garden at Balagandi. Alone and dressing himself as a Vaishnav, Maharaj Prataparuja entered the garden at Balagandi alone and began reciting verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. He then took the opportunity to massage the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord, in his ecstatic love for Krishna, immediately embraced the king and thus bestowed mercy upon him. When there was an offering of prasadam in the garden, Lord Chaitanya also partook of it. After this, when Lord Jagannath's Rath car stopped moving, King Prataparuja called for many elephants to pull it, but they were unsuccessful. Seeing this, Lord Chaitanya began to push the car from behind with his head, and the car began moving. Then the devotees began pulling the car with ropes. Near the Gundicha temple is a place known as Aitota. This place was fixed up for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to rest in. When Lord Jagannath was seated at Sundarachala, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw it as Vrindavan. He performed sporting pastimes in the water of the lake known as Indradumna. For 9 continuous days during Rath Yatra, the Lord remained at Sundarachala. And on the 5th day, he and Sarup Damodar observed the pastimes of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. During that time, there was much talk about the pastimes of the gopis. When the Rath was again being drawn and the chanting resumed, 2 devotees from Kulina Gram, Ramananda Vasu and Satyaraj Khan, were requested to bring silk ropes every year for the Rath Yatra ceremony. Accompanied by his personal associate, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the festival known as Lakshmi Vijayotsava. There he discussed the super excellent love of the gopis. Just by hearing about them, he became very pleased and danced in great ecstatic love for the Lord. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gaurachandra. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya, who is so exalted. All glories to all the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur. All glories to the readers who have taken Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in ecstatic love, Maharaj Prataparuja entered the garden. Following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instructions, the king had given up his royal dress. He now entered the garden in the dress of a Vaishnav. Purport: sometimes members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially in the Western countries, find it difficult to approach people to distribute books because people are unfamiliar with the traditional saffron robes of the devotees. The devotees have therefore inquired whether they can wear European and American dress before the general public. From the instructions given to King Prataparuja by Sarvabhaumacharya, we can understand that we may change our dress in any way to facilitate our service. When our members change their dress to meet the public or to introduce our books, they are not breaking the devotional principles. The real principle is to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, and if one has to change into regular Western dress for this purpose, there should be no objection. Includes wigs, I hope. Maharaj Prataparuja was so humble that with folded hands he first took permission from all the devotees. Then with great courage he fell down and touched the lotus feet of the Lord. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay on the raised platform with his eyes closed in ecstatic love and emotion, the king very expertly began to massage his legs. The king began to recite verses about the Rasa Leela from Srimad Bhagavatam. He recited the chapter beginning with the words Jayati Te Dikam. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 31, constitute what is known as the Gopi Gita. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these verses, he was pleased beyond limits, and he said again and again, "Go on reciting, go on reciting." As soon as the king recited the verse beginning with the words Tava Katamritam, the Lord arose in ecstatic love and embraced him. Upon hearing the verse recited by the king, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have given me invaluable gems, but I have nothing to give you in return. Therefore, I am simply embracing you." After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the same verse again and again. Both the king and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were trembling, and tears were flowing from their eyes. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavirbirdiditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimaratatam bhuvi grananti ye buddhidajana. My Lord, the nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those who are always aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities, and they eradicate all sinful reactions. Whoever hears these narrations attains all good fortune. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.31.9. After reciting this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced the king and cried, "You are the most magnificent. You are the most magnificent." At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not know who the king was. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy was aroused because of the king's previous service. Therefore, without even asking who he was, the Lord immediately bestowed his mercy upon him. How powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu! Without even inquiring about the king, the Lord made everything successful. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is so powerful that it acts automatically. If a person renders loving service to Krishna, it never goes in vain. It is recorded in a spiritual account. And in due course of time, it will fructify. This is confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita 240. Neha bikarmana shosti pratyavayo navidyate sopamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. In this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has particularly bestowed upon all fallen souls in this age the most potent method of devotional service, Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy name, and whoever takes to it through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is immediately elevated to the transcendental position. As Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532 recommends, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedasa. A student of Krishna consciousness must receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Then his devotional service will quickly succeed. This was the case with King Prataparudra. One has to be noticed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and a little service with sincere efforts will convince the Lord that one is a proper candidate for returning home back to Godhead. At first, Maharaj Prataparudra did not have a chance to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when the Lord saw that the king was serving Lord Jagannath as a menial sweeper, the Lord's mercy upon the king became a solid fact. When Maharaj Prataparudra, in the dress of a Vaishnava, was serving the Lord did not even inquire who he was. Rather, he had compassion upon him and embraced him. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wants to point out that nothing could compare to the Lord's mercy towards Maharaj Prataparudra. Therefore, he uses the word dheka, just see, and Chaitanyara Kripa Mahabhala. Chaitanyara Kripa Mahabhala. Would you like to say it? Chaitanyara Kripa Mahabhala. How powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanyara Kripa Mahabhala. Okay, make a list. Write that one down. And the page number. You're hired. This is also confirmed by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati. Yakarunya Katakshavaiva Bhatam, from the Chaitanya Chandramrita. Even a little of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy serves as a great asset for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement must be spread through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Rupa Goswami experienced the mercy and magnanimity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratrishe Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is more magnanimous than any other avatar, even Krishna himself, because he is bestowing freely what no one else has ever given, pure Krishna consciousness, pure love of Krishna. Srila Lochan Das Thakur has also sung Parama Karuna Pahun Dvijana Nitai Gora Chandra. The two brothers Nitai and Gora are so kind that no one can compare to them. Similarly, Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Vrajendra Nandana Jay Shachi Shuta Hoilo She Balaram Hoilo Nitai Dina Hina Jatachilo Harinama Idarilo Tara Shakshi Jagai Madai. Just to deliver all the sinful persons of this age by propagating the chanting of the holy name, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram have invented as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Jagai and Madai are evidence of their success. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mission is the deliverance of all fallen souls in Kali Yuga. Devotees of Krishna must persistently seek the favor and mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to become fit to return back home, back to Godhead. I think it's in contention for the best purport. We should have every year the best purport awards. This is when I'm going to enter. Okay, we'll take a few reflections or questions. Yes. Mahendra, and then we have Lokaram Prabhu. All the heavy hitters. I'm going to start off.
From the previous chapter, Prabhupada said, but when one's mind does not accept and reject, but simply becomes fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, then one's mind becomes as good as Vrindavan. No more mental state, no acceptance, rejection, just fixed on Krishna. I remember Yadunanda Maharaj was quoting Yadunandana Maharaj, quoting some sadhu from Puri or somewhere. He was telling him, I try to not think anymore, just chant, only the holy name. That's the activity of the mind, and it becomes Vrindavan.
Less thinking, more chanting. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. It really struck me that this point that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't even know who the king was. And the reason why it was meaningful was because he didn't know who he was, but still he gave him his full mercy, and that was he attained all success in that moment. And the reason it was meaningful is because sometimes we hear devotees trying to understand and get anxious about my spiritual identity and what's my service to the Lord and my relationship with the Lord. But here we're seeing that actually Lord Chaitanya, it didn't matter who the king was, but the fact that he got the mercy of the Lord, then he became fully successful. So it reminded me of this other statement we hear from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that we should not try to see Krishna but to be seen by Krishna. So I think if I can just make my full goal in life to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then
Balo, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, outside people's party.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I just have some difficulty understanding seeing Jagannath, the temple in Jagannath Puri, as Dwarka. Because like in Orissa, we know there's this song, say Krishna, say Gora, say Jagannath. We know that Lord Jagannath is actually Shamsundar, and he's in this Mahaprakash form, this extreme ecstasy in separation of Srimati Radharani. So, and devotees worship Lord Jagannath all over the world. They worship Lord Jagannath as Krishna, not as in Vrindavan, not as in Dwarka. So I can't quite understand that.
So what's your question?
How is the Jagannath temple in Jagannath Puri identified as Dwarka?
Well, he's there with Lakshmiji. And when he leaves and goes to Gundicha, he's basically stepping out and going to Vrindavan with his girlfriends. So it's a distinctively different mood there. But in any case, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came into the Jagannath temple, saw Krishna. And each devotee, as Krishna mentions in the Gita, ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. He reciprocates according to the mood of the devotee. So those who are devotees of Krishna will see Krishna in a different way. That, for instance, when, as we heard before, people come from various backgrounds when they come to see Jagannath. Somebody who's a Buddhist who comes, or somebody who's a Mayavadi, they won't see Rajendra Nandana Krishna in the form of Lord Jagannath. But that has to do with the individual's perception. But for this pastime, there's variety. Krishna enjoys the variety because moving from one place to another. I think last night we talked about the estuary. When there's a clash of the worlds, then it's more noticeable and glorified, the love of the devotees of Vrindavan. And it doesn't become fully revealed until Krishna goes to Kurukshetra. And then the gopis go there and say, here's Krishna. And you're like, no, I don't think so. Because Vaikuntaj Janito Vara Marupurit Yatrapi Ratsotsavad Vrindaranya Mudarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhanaha Radha Kunda Mihapi Gokulapate Premamratap Lavanat Kuryadasya Virajato Giritate Sevam Vivekinyakaha. That's why Rupa Goswami gives this hierarchy, explaining one thing's better than the next. So anyway, the different moods are there. For you probably, because of your association and your exalted spiritual lineage, you're pining for Vrindavan all the time. So even when you go there, it's hard for you to tolerate. Right?
I just can't understand it. Because we're worshipping Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. It's not like there's Lord Jagannath and Lakshmi Devi on the altar. So I just don't understand.
Well, Krishna does leave Vrindavan. Of course he doesn't. But he ostensibly leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura. And there's a different mood there. He interacts with the devotees there. It's a different mood. And then he goes to Dwarka. And there's a different mood there. So these different varieties of moods are definitely there. Okay, Nanda. Nanda's going to help us out here.
Hare Krishna. I was just struck, overwhelmed, encouraged, and enthused by the beginning of the previous chapter on the glories of bhakti and how simple it is to execute, in the sense of become absorbed in personal service to the Lord. If you have a simple mind, you can participate and reach the highest levels of devotion. And if you have a big brain, you can become absorbed in the wonderful philosophy and all the different intricacies of philosophical arguments and points of bhakti, and it's all encompassing. Everybody can take part from wherever they are and reach the highest goal, way more than that difficult process of jnana yoga, astanga yoga, monistic this and that, and have no juice at all, and you reach a lesser goal. Anyway, all glories to the process of bhakti and Srila Prabhupada, who brought it to all of us. Hare
Hare Hare. Okay, Namachintamani, tell us what we've won. Anything else from the internet or?
We have Suli Prabhu.
Vamshuli? Okay, go ahead. And then Nitya Tarangani is ready to tell us who's on the internet.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In the previous chapter, there was a description of the ecstatic symptoms of Lord Chaitanya and how he was sprinkling the minds of the servants of Lord Jagannath, the government officers, pilgrim visitors, general populace, and the residents of Jagannath Puri. This reminded me of how our team, we were distributing books just outside the Jagannath Puri temple in the Yatra earlier this year, and how the policemen there, right behind the book stall, they had also received the books. Some of the pandas received the books, and the people in general received the books. So I was thinking Lord Chaitanya's mercy is still being sprinkled all over the world.
All the policemen bought books. For some reason, our team decided to set up the book table outside the police station. I said, "Are you kidding me?" And they said, No, they said it was all right. So then the police came out and told us we couldn't have a table, but then he said, "How much is the Gita?" And so Malini or somebody sold him the Gita, and then he was trying to get the price down, definitely. And then so after he bought a Gita, his friends came and said, you gave my friend a discount. I want a discount too. One after another, all the police came. There was about 16 of them, bought Bhagavad Gitas. Meanwhile, they're saying, "You can't be here." But when they saw that it was in their language, they all wanted it. But they kicked us out at the simultaneous kick out and buying the books. It was really funny. Wait, we got Nitya Taranga. We did have to move. We moved. No, we did have to move. But it didn't make any difference because it's so dense there and everybody's favorable. Nitya Tarangani, please tell us.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. We have 21 devotees tuned on online today.
Hare Hare!
And one reflection from Ishwari Radha Mataji.
Jai.
She's saying, Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. I feel really grateful to listen to this reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I wish I was there.
Oh, that's so nice. So encouraging to hear from the devotees listening from everywhere. Okay, yes?
Guru Maharaj, in one lecture I was listening that king was so elevated that he remembered the Gopi Gita by his heart, and he recited it in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that's how he got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Pratapuja?
Yes.
It's a good idea then that's why it's a good idea to memorize all these verses. You never know when you might have to recite them.
I just had one point on Lord Jagannath being in Dwarka. I mean, you guys know better than me, but there's one section of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita I remember where Gopakumar was in Vaikuntha, but he was seeing Lord Vishnu as Gopal and the cowherd boys around him. So, I mean, Krishna has that capacity.
Yeah, it's another example of the way the devotees are. That's the way Krishna reciprocates. But in one account of the forms of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, is that they're actually coming from Dwarka, or they're in Dwarka, but they're hearing the devotees discussing the residents of Vrindavan. It's what's her name, who was in Vrindavan and Dwarka? Rohini is telling all the residents of Dwarka, so they want to know who are the devotees there. Because Krishna is sleeping, but he's saying the names of his girlfriends, and he's married, and he's crying at night, and people want to know what's going on. So finally, Rohini starts telling everybody. But when Krishna, Balaram, Subhadra come and hear that discussion going on, remembering the residents of Vrindavan, hearing it through Rohini, and as it's resonating with the devotees there in Dwarka, their figures transform in ecstasy. And that's the forms of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So it's kind of like they're standing in Dwarka, but they're looking towards Vrindavan. That's the whole tension of that pastime at Rath Yatra. It's always there, and it's being celebrated at the Rath Yatra in a full-blown public way, although most people don't know what's happening. except for those who get a copy of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, Mukhandavinda Prabhu for the close. I see you, Chinta Chaitanya. Okay, go ahead, and then Chinta Chaitanya will close, and that's really it, because we're trying to make up. This is an emergency session. Go ahead.
So, Maharaj, when the first time, when somehow he lifted, King Prataprup lifted the, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fall down during the dance, and that time he became externally angry. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that a person may appear to be a pound-selling man interested in money and women, but if he is actually meek and humble and spiritually and surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not mundane. Such a judgment can be made only by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his very confidential devotee. As a general principle, however, no devotee should intimately mix with mundane people interested in money and women. So I was just wondering that, first of two questions: why is like categorically condemned for money and women? Like we can see that even people, those who have money, they can also be meek and humble. And second question is that how, like in Prabhupada is saying that only that
we're not concerned with meek and humble. We're just concerned with Krishna consciousness. Of course, one should be meek and humble, and if one's Krishna conscious, be meek and humble. But the main point is that those, the epitome of the material nature are those two, and people are absorbed in them and mostly distracted by them. And so whether they have good qualities or not is not the issue, because as is mentioned in the overture of 5:18:12. What is that verse? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana sarver gunas tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahad guna manorate nasati davato bihi. The meek and humble qualities somebody may have, if they don't have Krishna, then they'll come and go. They can't persist. Saved by the bell. Thank you for joining the morning session. We'll see everybody back here at 10:30. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Radhe Shyam, if you so desire, please let us remember that in order to advance spiritually, we have to attract the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and please let us do so by cooperating to spread the Sankirtan movement. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo. 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalpadrishya Kripasinabhe Vichapatitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Prasad for everybody.